Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today to do a VR. So I was tagged by the lovely Nova at Nova Monday Tarot to do her second, which I think is going to be like a series of tags. This one is the hashtag readers must-haves. So mass market must-haves, best mass market decks for readers. And I'm already aware that lots of people have done their VR to this in the last couple of days. I've seen Cara, Martin, Tammy Pie, Amy, Magdalena, and probably others that I haven't noticed as yet. But I haven't watched any of your videos yet. I plan to after I've recorded this, because I didn't want to be distracted by other people's choices, and there's probably a good chance that some of these decks that I've chosen, other people have chosen as well, and I didn't want to sort of be forced or feel like I was forced to change my mind and pick something else. So without knowing, other than Nova, without knowing what anybody else has chosen, these are my picks. There are 11 prompts. Some of these prompts I've picked 2 decks for, but we shall get started. So the first prompt is the best deck, the best mass market deck for practical, mundane, everyday matters. And for that, I have chosen this lovely deck, which you might recognise, and it is the Book of Shadows. And this is the As Above, or is it the So? No, this is the So Below, isn't it? Of course it is. This is the So Below deck, because it is about everyday matters, as you can see from the cards here. You get a lot of different scenes of everyday life, really. So, you know, we've got a teacher here, or a nursery group. We've got, you know, a housewife. We've got people having to sell their home. We've got someone working in an office. We've got a mum taking her kids out in the car for the chariot. A man sat in the woods on his laptop. Somebody at the fair. Somebody who's losing the plot over a broken cup. A lady in the bath. People getting ready for Halloween, for a party. Somebody sat in their office again that's just having a little bit of time out, smelling some lavender. But anyway, this is a fantastic reader, I think. And I couldn't think of another deck really that I thought would go so well with sort of everyday mundane matters. There's a situation here in this deck for everybody. You know, we've all gone through heartache and bad news. Dear, all my cards are always up the wrong way, aren't they? I don't even read reversals. I don't know how it happens. You know, we've all played in paddling pools, or our kids have. You know, there's people in positions of management, somebody coming home late at night, parties, you know, issues around loss, yoga, climbing, dinners, rituals. Temptations. Yeah, so this is a great deck. I love this. I don't read with it enough, to be honest. I should probably put this into my circuit for my reading channel, I think. Oh, bless, look, she's lost in the woods. That happened to me, you know, when I was a child. Me and my brother got lost in the woods and the police had to come and find us. can imagine how thrilled my parents were about that. Family get-togethers, loads of lovely, really sort of relatable things here. You know, this justice card, this is really clever, isn't it? You know, she's been wearing high heels all day. It's the end of the day. It's been a long day. And the consequences are that she's got sore feet. So strength with somebody, an older person running and enjoying it. Yeah. So this, like I said, this is the Book of Shadows, maybe volume 1. It's volume 1 or volume 2, I can't really remember, and it's the So Below deck. So the next prompt is the best deck for love and relationship readings. Well, I don't really have many decks for those kind of readings, if I'm honest. Not any sort of dedicated decks as such. Other than this Oracle deck, the True Love Reading cards by Belinda Grace, which is a really, really nice deck, actually. The cards are large. That's the backs of the decks. The cards are large, as you can see, but they cover all aspects of love and relationships. And they're quite cute. But what's really, really great about this deck is the guidebook, actually. It really does have a lot of information about each of these cards, because, you know, some of them are quite straightforward, and then you've got others like the Garden, and you sort of think, well, you know, what's that to do with love and relationships? I mean, well, at first thought, you know, a garden is somewhere that grows, that needs tending, that needs time, that needs effort. But the guidebook is brilliant. It's quite a pretty deck, isn't it? You see reparenting yourself, intimacy, the distorted feminine, compatibility, worthiness. So yeah, you get actually 2 pages for each of the cards. Yeah, quite a lot of information. Like, where was the Garden? There it is, the Garden. So it's the garden is lush and fertile when she is healthy, and barren and forbidding when she is neglected. She ebbs and flows with the seasons, is still when she needs to be, and full of colour, life and nourishment when the timing is right. In a world where we are constantly under pressure to be active, the idea of being the garden rather than the gardener can seem far too passive, because there's also a gardener card in this. But in this context, however, to be passive means to be peaceful and in a state of trust. Modern women will wonder how long they need to wait for a suitable gardener to come along, while modern men may feel that they already have enough to do without having to nurture the feminine in their lives as well. But the truth is, we all have an inner garden and gardener, and true abundance develops in your life when you maintain a healthy balance between the two. So as you can see, it's a really sweet deck. I've used this quite a lot in readings, actually. And then I chose Ethereal Visions for this prompt as well, by Matt Hughes, just because I think it's such a very feminine and it's a very feminine deck. I think it's quite a romantic deck. It doesn't focus on relationships specifically in any way. You know, it's a very Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck, but I just think the soft colour palette, the pastels, the artwork, all of it just makes me think that it's very soft and very feminine and would lead itself very well to relationship readings. I had planned to use this deck to do a reading for Valentine's Day with the True Love reading cards actually, but I wasn't very well and in the end didn't get around to making that video, but perhaps another day. It's very pretty with all the gold, isn't it, as well? It's very soft. Look at that, look. I mean, that's, you know, it's not to say that all relationships are soft and gentle and feminine, because they're certainly not all aspects of them, but I honestly don't really have any specific tarot decks or oracle decks for relationships other than that True Love deck, so this was about as close as I could get. And this is a great reader, actually, because that's what we're kind of looking at today, is decks for readers. And I do think that this deck reads really, really well. So yeah, this is the Ethereal Visions. It's Art Nouveau, isn't it? There's actually 80 cards in this deck. I didn't realise that. Okay, so prompt number 3 is the best mass market deck for shadow work. I have quite a lot of different choices for this actually, because I'm quite big on shadow work, but this is a new deck which I have not worked with as yet. I've really literally only opened it in the last few days, so I'll show you that in a mo. And this is the Osho Zen deck, and this has always been my favourite deck, go-to deck for me when I'm in need of a different perspective, I think, from my own head. You know, when I've been overthinking particularly, which is something that I do a lot, I find that the swords cards in this deck are really quite brutal, at times quite confronting. They don't pull any punches, and they're quite a different perspective from many other tarot decks. I just really, really like it. You know, we've got like clinging to the past here. The Five of Cups is, you know, your head, you can see, can't you, here? Your head is so full of all of these different memories and images and everything that you're kind of blind to everything that's going on around you. You know, this politics card here, the Seven of Swords, it's kind of treacherous, isn't it? It's full of masks and people pretending to be something that they're not. Schizophrenia, what an awful place to be in the Two of Swords here. You know, hanging on by your fingers and your toes to something rather than just surrendering to it and making a decision one way or another. You know, this is a torturous place to be. The Five of Swords here, there's no comparison, is there? We can see that already. You can't compare bamboo to a tree trunk. So when you apply that to yourself, you know, because we're always comparing ourselves to other people and other situations and judging ourselves based on those things. The Five of Pentacles, very sad card there. The Three of Swords, isolation. Look at that, look. This person has their thoughts have become so negative and so damaging that it's like they've surrounded themselves in ice, with only their tears sort of melting bits away from their face. It's quite a hard card to look at, really, I think, if you know that feeling. Nothingness there, look. Completion of the jigsaw. This is a card that I have looked at a lot in my time. This is either the Page or the Knight of Swords. I can't quite remember what that is. But this is the mind. And if my mind can be quite treacherous, really, if, you know, I have a very busy and overactive and curious mind, and if it's not occupied with healthy things, it will sometimes turn on me. And it can feel a bit like this, that it's like a machine of its own, that it's under its own power, and that I'm sort of in it somewhere, but taken over by it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I think that must be the Page. I don't think it's the Kings. This is certainly the Knight of Swords. I struggle to remember the court cards in this deck. You know, and the Knight of Swords here fighting. Look at him, he's just covered in spikes. You know, and it's that kind of prickly, irritable, aggressive energy that you can sometimes find with the Knight of Swords. The Nine of Wands, exhaustion, just this person inside all of this machinery, almost like a cog in the machinery, or somebody that's trying to run everything, you know, all of these different bits, they're trying to run all of it and leaving themselves completely exhausted in the process. The Six of Cups, the Dream, look. Morality, I think that might well be the King of Swords. And like you can see the restrictions in this card, can't you? All the square boxes, the grey clouds, the downward turning mouth and hands. It's kind of pious, isn't it? And rigid. Not good. So yeah, as you can see, I think this is a fantastic deck for shadow work. The Nine of Swords looks sorrow, very painful energy. Eight of Swords, guilt. And sometimes things can feel like that, can't they? Like something's clawing away at you. It just won't let you have any peace of mind. The burden, the Six of Swords. This poor man, look, he's got a man on his back and even a cockerel on his back. And he's being forced onwards. It's a fantastic deck. Again, I don't read with this deck nearly enough. I love it. And then there's this one, the Dead Inside, which is feel seen, feel dead inside, feel better. It's a 54 card deck for the emotionally unstable, spiritually exhausted and humourfully unhealed. From doom scrolling at 3 a.m. to blaming Mercury retrograde again, these skeletons get you. So this is something that's just a little bit more light-hearted, but actually in itself is very pertinent and very, very relevant, I think. Overthinking, I do lots of that. Crying in the shower, not so much. I'm fine, but actually that's a state of numbness and suppression. No thoughts, just vibes. That disassociated sort of place, which I rarely am in. I'm more of an overthinker. Can't even overwhelm, I get that. Constantly exhausted, yes. Trying not to lose it, not so much. Tears, what tears? That's me. Denial. I can be very much like that. It's too much. I'm very much like that. This overstimulation and mental overload. Ghosted again. Still not over it. Oh dear, the looping thoughts, the things that go round and round your head. Falling for red flags. Yes. It wasn't closure. Replaying the breakup. Yes, we've all been there. You've been blocked. Reading old texts like a novelist. Not so much. I'm not too sentimental about the past, but toxic but familiar, yes. Patterns and attachments. Crying over situationships. Not so much. Social battery completely. I think this little deck will be fantastic. Actually, I plan to use this in some readings. Pretending to like people, people pleasing, definitely. Over explaining everything, yes. I don't know whether this is a deck for neurodivergent people, but many of these things go on for me. Feeling like you're too much, again, yes. Invited but not wanted. Oh, I don't think I feel that. Don't look at me. Avoiding eye contact like a pro, yes. Faking confidence again, yes. I think much of my working life was fake it till you make it. Overstimulated in public all the time. Said yes when you meant hell no. So as you can see, this is a really funny, but a really, really accurate and true, yeah, blimey. This is the first time I'm looking through these cards, actually. Shopping to feel something, hey. Emptiness, impulse spending and escapism. I think there's many of us guilty of that, isn't there? Okay. Prompt number 4. So the best for career and life path readings. Well, do you know, this is career readings. They're just not something that I ever think about too much, or I actually see in the cards too much. Maybe it's because I'm retired and it's just not like my reality, but they're not things that I tend to see too much. But I think if somebody asks me to do a career or life path reading, I think I would probably be tempted just to use my very boring and basic but very reliable Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And I think my favourite mass market Rider-Waite-Smith deck that I've got is the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. It's this one with these backs. I like that it's borderless. I like the colour palette. Yeah. I think if I was going to read, like I said, if I was going to read for somebody's career or life path, I'd want to use a deck that I was very, very familiar with and I knew like the back of my hand, and something that to me is very relatable, you know, with the pentacles and things. So yeah, I would probably use the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot, and I would probably also have a look at some archetype cards as well, because I think if you're looking at somebody's career prospects or their life path, or what strengths and weaknesses they might have, things that they might use to their advantage in looking to a career, or what career might be suited to them. I think looking at people's archetypes can be really, really helpful. You know, if somebody's choosing or a lot of cards are coming up that are quite, I don't know, maybe like quite poetic or quite mystic, or you know, like we've got the Mystic card here and the God card, and You know, if we were getting a lot of those kind of cards coming up, of those kind of archetypes, I think it's unlikely that you would think about somebody having a very practical career, say, for instance. You know, that person might be better suited in a different career or a different job. And I just think that these cards, you know, they have a light attribute, a shadow attribute. And I think they really help you to explore different aspects of your personality. You know, if you were getting a lot of cards coming up around this kind of servant energy, where you liked to serve others and you were sort of very generous of spirit in that way, that might lead you towards certain conclusions, mightn't it? And, you know, like we've got the artist and the poet here. No point really trying to push that person down a path of, I don't know, money or insurance or banking or something, because that person just may well not be suited to that. That may not be something that they would be happy doing. So yeah, this is one of my favourite decks ever, actually. I've used this a lot myself. I've used it a lot with clients in the past. And like I said, I just think it's a really valuable thing to look at those different aspects of your personality. It really helps you to work out what you're good at, what you're not good at, what things you might be suited to in life, you know. Okay, so for prompt number 5, these are the best mass market decks for healing and emotional recovery. And these are the 2 decks that I would pull out any time for myself or for anybody else. The Tower of the Abyss, I find an extremely emotional reader. I find that it taps into my intuition and my emotions very easily. I find it, I love looking at this deck, if I'm honest. If I was needing to look at some cards to help me explore my emotions, it would definitely be this deck. And I find it to read for others as well. I find that it reads just as well for others as it does for myself. And there's not a lot of decks that do that, actually. Some of my decks I can read very well for myself, or I find them a little bit impersonal for me, but they read very well for other people. But this one, I find I can pick up and read for anybody, and it always gives me an insight into a person's emotional state and what they need to feel better, you know, what might have gone wrong, you know, what patterns there are, what things they're doing that don't serve them anymore, and how to find their way out of any kind of situation like that. And I've said it lots of times before, considering it's a sort of black and white and sort of grayscale deck, it has such an emotional quality to it. I find it very warm, which you wouldn't think from the colour palette, but yeah, it's a very, very emotional deck. And I would use it with some more cards from Caroline Miss, actually, who did the archetype deck. These healing cards are fantastic. I've had this deck a long time. It may be, let's have a look. I think I bought it new. 2003. So yeah, it's a really old deck. And again, I used to use this with clients quite a lot. Without hope, we live in desire. You don't really need to use the guidebook because, you know, you've got words on the back. Everything lost is found again. Everything hurt is healed again. And the truth has the power to retrieve a part of your spirit from the past. It's a mantra that's strong enough to overcome past injuries. This will be your constant thought today. I just think it's a really gentle but helpful, holistic type deck that would be great for anybody in the process of healing from something or recovering from any kind of emotional distress. Illness begins in the stomach and diet is the main remedy. Be mindful today of how you nourish your body with healthful food. Feed your spirit with self-respect and self-love, allowing only positive thoughts and feelings to enter your body. I mean, some of these kind of decks can be a little bit sort of toxic positivity, I suppose, because sometimes when you've been through real suffering, you don't want to be sort of given little platitudes and, you know, things like that. But I find these really, really practical and helpful. It's never too late to create a new body. Even the slightest change in your diet can generate a new body and a fresh mind. Avoid eating anything today that creates conflict in you. Observe how instantly your body manifests a grateful feeling. So this deck is really getting you to tune into your body and your mind and see how the two kind of connect with each other, which I think is probably one of the first steps to healing often for people, isn't it? You know, when you're feeling down, it's hard to eat well, it's hard to take care of yourself, and it's sometimes by doing those very small basic things that they lead to much bigger and more profound changes within yourself. You know, this one's talking about not needing to feel useful or productive all the time, not needing to fill every little bit of your life with activity. Yeah, so there's lots and lots of cards there about illness and healing on a holistic level. So I think that's a great deck, and I'm pretty sure it is still on, you can still buy it mass market. I don't think that it's out of print, but I've just suddenly wondered about that as it's such an old deck. But I don't think that it is. I hope not anyway. Okay, prompt number 6 is the best deck for decision making and gaining clarity. Well, this one just sprang to mind immediately, the Mindscapes Tarot by John A. Rice. I remember when I did a deck interview with this deck, it came out as a very, as you would expect actually from the name of it, but it came out as a very sort of cool, sort of airy type deck, not very emotional. And I think just because there's no people in this deck, I think it's quite hard, it's quite easy for it to be kind of an objective deck. You know, we've got a lot of scenes here. The colour palette's quite cool. As I said, it's not a very emotional deck. And the guidebook actually is brilliant. I think if I really needed to make a very careful decision about something, or really wanted a deck to gain clarity about something that I didn't want my emotions to get in the way of, I think this would be a very good deck for that. I haven't read with it on my channel as such yet, but I have read for myself, and it does read very well, but in a very cool sort of almost sort of intellectual way, I guess. It's not a very earthy deck, despite all of the scenes of nature and the earth. I don't find it a very earthy deck on the whole. It feels like a deck of the mind, as it says, mindscapes. It feels like a deck of the mind, and a deck that helps you to navigate your mind in a kind of detached kind of way, perhaps. So yeah, it would be a very, very good deck for gaining clarity and making decisions. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is the best deck for daily guidance and daily pulls. And I've chosen the Curious Travels Tarot deck here, which I actually used. The reason why I thought of this deck, because there's so many I could have chosen for this, but the reason why I thought about this deck is because I used it last year for the Drop 'em 78 tarot challenge. So I did, for 78 days, pull a card from this deck and really got to know it pretty well. It's a gorgeous deck. It's lovely quality. I think it's just a good all-rounder, really. I wouldn't say it like the Mindscapes is a very airy, kind of detached kind of deck. This one, it doesn't have a particular feel to me. I don't think I ever did a deck interview as such with this deck. But I find it a very easy reader. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say about it particularly. I just think it's a really good all-rounder, I suppose. It reads really well. It's quite talkative. You can get a lot of information just from the one card if you were going to use it for your daily pull. The guidebook is brilliant. So yeah, if you were just sort of doing a daily card pull and reading from the book for that one card, I think this would be a brilliant deck for that. Yeah, it's really nice. It's like I said, it's a fantastically, really well, good quality deck. The cards feel lovely in your hand. They're very slippy and slidey. They've got these lovely bits of gold on them. They've got kind of a linen finish. It's just a good all-rounder deck, I think. Okay, so for the next prompt number 8 is best for beginners, or something practical, easy to use, but a little bit extra. And I've chosen the Penumbra Tarot by the lovely Ethany and Eris Elizabeth. Oops, what have I done there? I think as a beginner, this would be a good deck to learn with, because the guidebook has been so well written. You get this legacy which tells you about the card, and then a reversed meaning. You get some notes. You even get a song for each of the cards, which is sometimes a really good way to connect with a deck if you're sort of into music like that. But I just think there's such a lot of good information in this deck. There's some really good spreads. There's some tarot activities about how to get your intuition going. There's a little blessings instruction. Yeah, all the different sort of sections in the card meanings. So we've got the legacy, which is upright and reversed, written by Ethany. The apogee, channeled from Eris, giving insight into the divine influences. A perigee, additional notes and tidbits about the card, and a song. Although this deck, I think, does it does change the court cards, I think. Like the Throne of Torches is the Queen of Wands. So there is that, which might be difficult for a beginner. But I think if you could get over that, I think this would be a brilliant deck to learn with. It's just so colourful and intuitive, I think. You know, I learned to read with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and I suppose if I was going to give anybody my real honest opinion, I think to learn with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, a clone of some kind, is a good deck to start with. But if you wanted something slightly different, this is a very emotional deck, a very intuitive deck. It like pulls you in, I think. I love the colour palette of it. I find it reads really, really well. I've used this deck quite a lot since I bought it, and it was a complete surprise to me just how much I liked it. I think there is enough in all of these cards that even without the guidebook, even if as a beginner, you could start to let your intuition flow and see what came up for you by looking at these images, you know. I think that there is enough here for you to get a feeling of what these cards represent. I just absolutely love the greens and blues and turquoises in this deck. I just think it's beautiful. And so, like I said, probably I hadn't realised when I chose this, but probably the only thing for a beginner that would be tricky is you'd have to get past the change in the names of the court cards. But other than that, I think that this would be a really nice deck to learn to read with, I think. Yeah. So that is the lovely Penumbra. Okay. So we're getting there. Prompt number 9. This is best for intuitive free flow style readings. And I've chosen the Bee Tarot, which has quite recently come into my collection, and I've edged it. It's a really, really nice deck, actually. I was nearly going to choose the Forest of Enchantment because it's another deck, I think, like this, that when you lay quite a lot of cards all down together, they all just seem to sort of flow really nicely into each other. I just think it's such a beautiful deck. It's a really, really intuitive reader. Like I said, I've not read with it as such yet, but I have sat and looked at it quite a lot as I've been edging it and thought about it. And I think this deck would do really well in sort of larger spreads when you get more cards down on the table together. I think this would be really good for telling stories, and I mean, just all the greens in this deck. It's just beautiful. It's such a lovely deck. It's really warm, as I guess it would be, wouldn't it, with all the bees and it sort of representing a lot of summer. But yeah, I just find that when all of the cards are sort of laid down together and you look at them all, it just becomes even more intuitive. It's like you can see the story here. And the prompt was a free flow style reading, so that's what I mean. I think that this deck would lend itself really well to just like laying a load of cards down and just telling their story, you know. It's beautiful. I'm really looking forward to this. I think probably May time I shall probably use this to do some readings on my channel, and I shall spend some time with it because it's definitely a summery deck, isn't it? So yeah, can you see what I mean? I think as the more cards you lay down, it's like the story builds and builds and builds. Okay, so prompt number 10 is the best deck for taking to parties for a fun, engaging reading. Well, when I was looking through my decks, I thought, well, I could take the zombie tarot or the horror tarot. They're quite funny and quite fun, you know, quite would provoke a lot of different feelings in people. But I've chosen in the end the Trionfi della Luna by Patrick Valenza. And again, I think that this deck, if it was showed to people who are not used to tarot, would provoke quite a lot of strong feelings because it's so quirky and weird and strange, isn't it? And it reads really well also, which is important because this is, I said, this prompt is decks for readers. So the zombie tarot actually reads really well, but the horror tarot not quite so much. So it was probably a choice between the zombie tarot or this one, but this one does actually read very well, even though it's very strange and peculiar, and you know, all of the creatures in it are very, very weird, but it still follows closely enough to Rider-Waite-Smith that you can read with it really easily despite the weirdness of it. So I think that people who are not used to looking at tarot decks would really enjoy looking at this, and I think it would prompt quite a lot of thoughts in people and a lot of laughter. And that is 4 of coins here. Look at his face. And this other moon-faced person here and the King of Coins. Yeah. Look at that, look, the Hanged Man. Oh, and the 9 of Cups. Too much, hey? Yeah, it's really nice. I do like, look at his feet. There's just so many little things with this deck that are funny. Look, I've only just noticed actually, like the death figure behind him with the 4 of coins. That demon-like creature. Okay, and for the last prompt, this is a best for reading for people scared of tarot or a hug deck. And I've chosen 2, depending on whether you're a cat person or not. If you're a cat person, I would probably choose this deck, the Cat's Eye deck by Deborah Given by US Games. It's just really, really nice. It just it shows depictions of cats doing things that cats do. They've not been kind of humanized in any way. They're still cats doing cats things. They're very relatable. the cat in his basket. The Knight of Cups rubbing up against the sofa. The 3 of Cups, just all the little kitties together. The silly cat up the tree. The naughty cat with a mouse. Cats together. Oh, the little ginger one. I think if you like cats, this would be a really, really gentle introduction to tarot. That these are easily read. Excuse me. This is very easily read deck. You can see what's going on here very easily. But there's nothing in it that's weird or scary. It's just all very, very soft and gentle and relatable, isn't it? Like I said, if you like cats, what's not to like about this deck? There's nothing scary about it at all, is there? Yeah. It's just a very, very sweet deck, I think. And one actually that I don't know why I don't read more with. Perhaps later in the year I should have a month of cat decks and do some cat readings. And if cats are not your thing, if you prefer flowers and landscapes and things like that, then the Pastoral Tarot is a really sweet deck. It's just full of scenes of the countryside, of people doing ordinary things, enjoying themselves for the most part. I mean, I would imagine that it's sort of American Midwest, which is obviously not where I come from, but much of it is very relatable anyway. Many of the animals and the scenes and things are things that you would find in my local area. I mean, we don't have wolves, but we have shepherds and hills and dogs and sheep and beaches and forests, and, you know, it's just a very, very sweet deck, isn't it? Nothing scary here. Nothing too way out there. These are scenes that are relatable to most people, I think. Unless you lived somewhere in the world that had a very different climate and was much, much different. But yeah, I think these things are very relatable. Look at the birds, look. I mean, we don't have barns that look exactly like that, but we have barns everywhere. We have haystacks everywhere. We have these lovely woodland scenes with broken trees and stately homes with mazes and hares and forests with snakes, and we have horses and people that ride horses, but not cowboys. So yeah, I think depending on what kind of person you were, I would either read perhaps with this or a cat deck if it was to be a non-scary type deck. It's very sweet. Look at that, look, the High Priestess. We have a lot of fields of maize and corn. So yeah, there we go. That was my 11 prompts for the hashtag readers mass market must-haves. So thank you to Nova. This is a really nice way to get a lot of my decks out and have a look at them again. And I shall now look forward to having a look at some other people's videos now I've recorded this, and see how many we got the same. So thanks for watching. I'm sorry it's quite long. If you stay till the end, thanks so much. Do say hello, and sending you all my love.